Hello, I'm Dave Feinlieb, and this is Beyond the Shelf. This show is an open exploration of the people and process behind e-commerce. Through conversations with innovators in the space, we learn the stories of these leaders and their strategies for e-commerce success. You can find out more about how we're helping leading brands and retailers build content and media 80% faster on average than their industry peers at itsrapid.ai. My guest on today's show is Wendy Jean Bennett, Vice President of Retail Commerce Leadership at Tyson Foods. Prior to her current role, Wendy Jean was Vice President of Retail, Case Ready Division, and Vice President of Sales, Consumer Products. She began her career at Marriott International. We discuss Wendy Jean's role leading e-commerce at Tyson, her insights on e-commerce content for the digital shelf and retail media, and her predictions for the next 12 months and beyond. Please enjoy my conversation with Wendy Jean Bennett. Wendy Jean, welcome to the show.
Dave, so great to be on. Thanks so much.
Would you take us back? How did you get your start in the space?
Absolutely. Well, my way back, like you mentioned, was Marriott. So unlike some people with CPG, I have been in food my entire career. I'm a foodie at heart, and I just ate at a fancy restaurant last night, not to get on tangent, but lovely venison. So I'm a big foodie at heart. I got initially introduced to this space in shopper marketing. I've done shopper marketing for a total of 11 years at Tyson. I was in it once and then I left and came back. I'm in it again right now, or what we call commerce marketing. And so I was introduced to e-com in 2016 when I was working in our Chicago Hillshire offices, and then started the journey there and now own it again just on our retail side of the space for just over a year because I came off that case ready job. So that's how I kind of started this space. I'm an innately curious person. I love the ever-evolving dynamics. I'm a retailer at heart, so I have a lot of passion there. So I am literally that person always kind of reading and investigating what's going on in the space.
Tell me about when you change roles. You start here, you go there, you go to another role. Is that a challenge? Is it fun? It's interesting? Is it nerve-wracking?
All the above, but I love that. So I'm someone who likes to be challenged. Like I said, I'm innately curious. So when I'm in a role for too long, I like learning the role. It's kind of like year one, you're learning. Year two, you're adding to the role to make it enhanced and better. And if you're in the role for year three, which I think is important, is you're establishing processes and having that continuous improvement. And that's really the payback for a corporation, is that year three. And if you want to stay a little bit longer, great. And in that role, but I find myself then wanting to learn and move on to something different. So that is what I like. I do like a challenge. I know not everyone loves that. And I do like change, right? So I'm a change agent. I embrace change and being able to do something different. One of the tips I always give to my team is if I just hire them, especially from a different company, I always say to folks, in your first 90 days, have a separate little notebook and write down everything you think, why do they do it that way? Because there's something there. You might not have time to investigate it at that moment, but write it down. And because once you become what I call Tysonized to how we doing things, you don't ever go back and think about it. And those initial thoughts you have are things that will help improve a company and really propel it. And so I always challenge people to go back and be able to take those key learnings and really be able to steward and advance the space. So that's why I like to call myself, Dave, a jack of all trades, master of none.
I love it. Well, you are an inspiration. So thank you for that. You've had a lot of amazing roles at Tyson. Would you share with us some of your learnings, your insights from the different roles you've had?
Yeah, I'm always surprised with how different roles are. I think a lot of times you say you work for a corporate, Fortune 100 company, that it should be very similar. But it is amazing. It's because we are part of an ag company that beef and pork run different than chicken, which is different from prepared. And I've loved that learning that I get from that. One I'm gonna say so, I'm gonna give you more some leadership tips and things I've learned in my career that I think are some I like to give actionable tips. One is I think people forget as they try to navigate their organizations or just get promoted. I don't care if you're a manager trying to get to a senior manager up to director. I don't care if you're an executive listening in right now. But you're not usually, as Hamilton says in the musical, you're not in the room where it happens. You're not going to be in the room when they talk about where you're scoring on your mid-year or year-end performance. You're not going to be in the room when they're talking about talent and who should be moving up in the organization. So I always say, what are the three things you want said about you? Like, not just, it could be one words, but I would say short bullet things. What do you, she's a great leader. She's genuine. She's authentic. She's this. What are the three things? And then go ask not just your friends, but coworkers, peers, even your boss. Say, hey, what are the three things you think about me? And see if they align. Because my three things people said about me is she's a get it done, person. You can depend. She's dependable. And I'm like, oh, these are not the things I want to be thought of as I want to step into a leadership role for the organization. So if they're not aligned, you have some work to do and some branding. And I will say, branding yourself is important. I don't care if you're an introvert or an extrovert. You need to figure out ways to either have a sponsor in the company and not either or, and a mentor in the company. A mentor helps you with skill sets. A sponsor is your champion for different roles. Because when you're not in the room and you're like myself, a leader in the room, I can't be the only one holding up Dave saying, Dave's great. We should promote Dave. Dave's the best thing since sliced bread. You want people in the room to say, oh my God, I agree. Dave did this, or I talked to Dave and I heard he had this passion and he wanted to do this. If they don't know what you want to do and you're not aligned on those three things, you're not going to get very far. The other thing I want to say is this is something I learned in my early 30s is someone had a substitute for me for a presentation to a customer and I wasn't there, but one of my direct reports was, and I said, how did that person do? And they said, oh, not too good. It wasn't, you have so much more passion and it was fine. The customer didn't say anything, but we definitely missed you. And then I asked the person who substituted for me, hey, how did you do? I knocked it out of the park. I was the best thing those people ever saw. And I realized in that moment that we've all probably seen a speaker or someone on stage that you're like bored or on your phone or you weren't paying attention. And self-awareness is actually a skill set. Being self-aware of how you're coming across in the room, what's the body language of the people. Too many people I know memorize and are reading slides. And you should have all of that done before you walk into the room. You should know what are the 2 bullet points you want to get across on each side. And you should be paying attention and reading the body language of the room. Because if they grasp the information quickly, move on. Don't spend as much time on that slide. Get to something where they go, huh? Or they lean over to someone and they whisper and go, when they do that, I know that they're either affirming something I'm saying or questioning something I'm saying. So you got to be able to read that room and react to that. And those are some of the most dynamic and best meetings I've had in my career, but you have to have some self-awareness to be able to get there.
That's such great insight. If you don't mind my asking, what are the three things you want to be known for?
Oh, well, one of them is a genuine, authentic leader, right? So I don't want to be a bully. I don't want to be a dictator, right? I want someone that I admit my faults and I'm genuine. I care about my people, move forward. So a genuine, authentic leader. I passion for sales and marketing. So my passions are sales and marketing. So I want that somewhere in the conversation. For a while, quite honestly, I got pigeonholed as the shopper marketing expert. And I had to move beyond that and actively work to move beyond that. From that point. And the third is when she speaks, it's the right thing to do for the company. So that's more about influence. I don't care about my title, quite frankly, at Tyson. What has been important to me is and I don't mean this egotistically, I can go into Donnie King or CEO's office or my boss's office or go talk to a peer or and anything I am bringing up is because I think it's the right thing to do for the organization. It's not anything to self-motivate or bring me anywhere or get me more money or promote me or anything else.
Amazing. Rules for the road right there. Rules for a lifetime.
Well, you made me think of, I'm going to say one more quick comment there is, I don't know. I'm going to say it's post, the evil word, but post pandemic, I'll say, is a lack of follow up. And I don't know what's going on there, but I just feel it. I mean, I manage about 100-person team, and I'm not the only one in my industry or my peers to say it. Of there just seems to be, I have to say, did that get done? Get that get done? And so I would just say there's kind of a lack of follow up and being aware of that. And if people are trying to help you in your career, take the moment to follow up with them. Like, even if you're not, if I said, Dave, you're like, I want to learn more about shopper marketing. I don't know if I want to switch from e-commerce to shopper. Okay, come on at a meeting, come sit, listen to some agency, and then don't ghost me. Come back and say, you know what, that really isn't for me. I'm thinking another passion I might have might be sustainability. Because if you actually follow up and close the loop, I'm not mad. I'm trying to get people promoted. I'm like, Dave, I get it. And by the way, I know Catherine Pincus, our VP of Sustainability. Let me give an intro. And if you don't close the loop and do some follow up, you're not gonna get anywhere. Don't ghost people and say, "Well, I'm uncomfortable and I don't want to tell that person I'm not really interested." You know what? It's people are. You have to assume positive intent. People just want to lift you up, and so take that time to follow up and close that loop. You don't know what window it'll open for you.
Tell us about your current role heading up e-commerce. You've got 100 people working in this area. You've got a lot of responsibility, obviously, but also some really interesting work that you're doing. What are you working on?
Absolutely. So, retail commerce leadership means shopper marketing, or commerce marketing, as we call it, e-commerce and category. So those three teams make up the 100 folks. There's a blending a lot of shopper marketing with digital space and e-commerce. So when I think about this space, it has its own unique set of challenges and opportunities. And Tyson's no different from any other company out there. The digital place is evolving, and we all say that. But you need to have the best product positioning, and you need to make it compelling. And the reasons why people are switching to products, there's a lot of switching to private label right now. What is your brand's differentiation, and make sure that's shining through? What about seasonality? I mean, there's so many, you and I talked about, people make a PDP page and set it and forget it. And we'll go into that, but you have to stay relevant for those consumers to meet those customer expectations. So it's both the consumer and the customer. So the customer side, meaning the retailers, are evolving, right? They're enhancing their scorecards. They're expecting scorecards. So you said crystal ball. We're going to have content scorecards for all key customers. We have them for some now. We're going to have it. I think people think post pandemic, well, people are shopping the perimeter, at least for a lot of our categories, in store again, but that is so not true. The newest reports say 58%, so almost 60% of people are using both mobile or smartphone device, and while they are in store. So they're using both in tandem to help them navigate. So do not dismiss this space and think that it is not ever evolving. And of course, for example, Gen Z over indexes for subscriptions by an index of 224 from shopping behavior studies from Nielsen. So, and I do it. I have some subscriptions, and I will say the majority of Tyson products are not subscribable today. So if you don't believe this space is evolving, it will be, and it will constantly be evolving, and we will see more online. And then we're going to see different stuff from retailers, right? Not only is there expectation of content, you're going to see some stuff that's available, just like we're seeing in more of not the food parts of but the other parts of store, where we see in clothing, electronics, is digital offer only, special price online versus in store, or vice versa, to drive traffic in store. We're going to see a proliferation of ways to use this customer. So they're using both tools, and retailers are going to encourage them to use both. With loyalty programs and everything else we're seeing to ensure trips and traffic stay maintained in this space. So those digital trends in this, and the utilizing your data, and understanding why they're shopping your space and what they're using it for. For example, hot dogs, people think grilling, and hot dogs are also a simple, easy midweek solution for kids, for moms. That's just something that's easy because it's already pre-cooked to heat up and give the kids. And so, you need to know your insights and your data and not only stop at something you learn from the brand. Need collaboration to share that with your ecom team because they can impact where those customers are. They're your first line of defense now. So if you need to share, your insights people should be in lockstep with your e-commerce people and unlocking that information and not just meeting with your brand and innovation teams.
Let me unpack two things there with you, if you would. One is this not one and done, this iterative idea. Talk to us about that. What's an example of where it's one and done, maybe it shouldn't be, and where it's iterative, where it has an impact, it's what you need to be doing?
Yeah, I would say I'm going to be a little bit specific at Tyson, but I know other people are having issues with this, which is we staffed up ecom. Everyone's excited. You get a staff, you get everyone going, and then you get, everything, let's just say up to speed for that marker of where it is, that water marker, that litmus test of where it is. And there's this assumption, and I'm going to say it's made by higher leadership. They're not in the day-to-day business. I don't expect them to know it, that it's checked off the box. Like, okay, yeah, we got that digital content thing. Yeah, no, we got that solved and done. And you need to use an analogy when you're sitting with your leadership to say, are you still using an iPhone 1? Because I don't think you're using the original iPhone or, whatever, Android, etc. But the Apple analogy is something that's really easy to grasp. We are an Apple company with our phones of, no, you're all on 14 and 15 by now, because you know why? There was enhancements. And that's what retailers are doing. That's what the digital space is doing with things like video content and TikToks and Reels. And so once you get that light bulb moment, you get a better buy-in that it is not just one and done, and you can't leave it static and expect it. It has to be refined. It has to be updated. You have to, and I always say, just like you have scorecards of measuring how the business is doing in our profitability, we have scorecards of how they're utilizing that data. If they're buying based on that data, we can look at the market trend data and we need to use that. And I would say we don't have a lot of standardization of scorecards because there's a lot of different syndication companies. There's like 3 or 4 different big ones that are being used. And we need to be able to have some best practices and be able to publish that. I see that coming together in the future as well. So it's a well optimized, and therefore digital and marketers, we can all speak the same language and talk about the compellingness needed in the marketplace to drive it forward.
Now, the second thing I want to unpack is this retail media and the digital shelf. You're working on both. We could probably do multiple podcast episodes just on each one of those, but talk to us about, at least high level, what do you see working? What are the challenges that the teams have to overcome? And, what are you excited about in those areas?
We're working with a lot of retail media partners. It is important. It's absolutely important. I would say, as you were thinking about whatever your company lingo is, if you have top to tops, joint business, joint growth, whatever you're getting together annually, semi-annually, e-commerce has to have a seat at the table. So you need to change that, and you need to understand, does your e-commerce person have a seat at the table when those conversations are happening? Because it needs to be built into the strategy of how you're working with that retailer. And I'm seeing that in some cases. I'm not seeing that holistically, because the strategies and goals are directly linked. It shouldn't feel like an offshoot. Oh yeah, we got that e-commerce thing covered. You need to build it into the overall strat plan and goals that you're working on with that retailer to expect for the year. And that investment should help your business grow. And that's what we're all looking for from a CPG landscape. So if you're not seated at the table and it's just an offshoot of, oh yeah, we got e-commerce covered, I'll follow up with you, Dave, on that later, what that looks like. That should be a yellow flag right there. And then B, like I was saying, there should be mutual accountability on how we're driving growth together. So I should do what I am committed to doing, and the retailer should do what they're committed to doing, and it works together. And then the last part about that is not unified as well right now, we talked about it before, is what the measurement is and what's important. Because at the end of the day, with this inflationary environment, impressions and clicks and that isn't going to do it. We're all looking for growth and trips and frequency and driving that. And that we're driving consumption and share growth. I mean, that's the bottom line number. Let's make sure we're all talking the same, because, we can give me all the reports of how many people viewed it and linked on it and did whatever. But it's not linking when we go to our overall analytics team and they're looking at the efficiency and the growth of our brands. And if it's not linked, you could have the best story in the world, and it's not going to hold a lot of water when you're in these tight financial times. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great insights. The other piece I wanted to ask you about, you have a 100-person team. In these large organizations, it is hard to have all the folks working together and talking to each other, especially if we have people who are remote, in the office, on the road, all of that. What are some of your strategies for bringing the teams together?
I think, the technology has improved so much to be able to bring the teams together. So yes, I still liked an old-fashioned physical get-together. We have sales conference, we have everything else. But I will say Teams, Zoom, whatever you use, has enabled us to get together more often virtually. I personally still do my whole team once a month, so they hear directly from the source and what's top of mind. Again, I want to be an authentic, genuine leader. I don't sugarcoat. I say this is a tough time. I need everyone to lean in. This is what we're going through. I try to keep them updated. So I still it's only a half-hour meeting. It's not a lot of Q&A time, but it's at least what's on my mind, what's going on. And then I have my regular meetings with my staff and workers. But we do have things that help from over that. There's an engagement team that works, and that's some, subgroups that we call it we also have a listening lounge. So if there's what's on their mind, what are we not addressing as an organization? Is there something in culture? Is there something else that needs to be addressed? We have an annual engagement survey. And one of the things that I love that we do that's important, especially when we talk about retention of talent right now, talent is your number one thing, is we do something called talent mapping. So it's not the performance review. It's not mid-year or year-end. It is outside of that realm. We actually just spend days, because it's my boss, the broader team. So 3 days usually just talking about our talent and, what they're great at, what their passions are, what needs improvement. I think the hardest thing that I've learned through my career is I didn't have a lot of people who had the courage to give me the feedback needed that I was willing to improve myself on. But people always go, "Oh, Dave, you're great. Just keep on doing what you're doing." I heard, "Wendy Jean, you're great. Just keep on doing what you're doing," for a decade. And then finally someone said, "You really need to work on this." And if they would have only told me, it wasted a decade of my life. So any leaders out there, please have the leadership courage to give that feedback. Most people are starved for it. And if they know you're coming from a place of positive intent, you should absolutely. So I think courage of leadership is critically important.
Well, it's a testament to you that you were so open to the feedback and that you took it and acted on it. Obviously, it's so great. Couple other topics on digital shelf. I'll throw a couple rapid fire ones at you. So retail media, you're deciding where to invest. You've got a lot of options now. They seems like we keep getting more options. And how do you decide where you're going to make your investments? You only have so much time and dollars and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why I said it's part of that joint business process. And what can we commit to upfront as a total strategy of what that retailer is going to do and what we're do. And when it makes sense for a business, that's where we give the yes. But it also has to prove on the backside the measurement. And like I said, I think that's where it really needs to evolve. I get everyone's launching a retail media and they're looking at media metrics. And like I said, in this inflationary environment, people are looking for sales share, growth, everything else. And so how do we link it back to that?
The other thing you mentioned was I've got my iPhone, Android, whatever my device of choice is, but I'm in the store. I've still got the device with me. And so I was curious, what are some tactics, approaches that you're thinking about or you're seeing that maybe take advantage of me having the device, but also being present in the physical store?
What I'll say real quick, what people are doing now, you said rapid fires, QR codes, and great. I did that before people knew what they were. It was the opposite before COVID, but it'll be so great when we're getting there right now. It's just image, right? You got reverse Google, all of that. So when we just have the imagery and you can hold up the pack and it's saying all the other things that brand marketers want to call out for claims and things that they're not able to put in pack, and it should have the storytelling side of it, of that people are looking for when it comes to sustainability and other. We can pull levers we've never been able to touch before, and I think I'm so excited for that, Dave.
That's inspiring. Talk to me about what's on the roadmap. It's a challenging and up and down environment, macro environment that we're in. And what are you keeping an eye on through the end of the year, heading into holiday, and also, the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think we're all trying to be very agile right now with the environment and what's going on. I think retailers have been very vocal, and I don't blame them, of don't just do price pack shrinkage. That's not what I'm looking for. We want to offer value. And so I think as marketers are being very clever of ways that we can demonstrate value together. I think some of the things we're looking at is leveraging the whole portfolio, which we don't always make big portfolio plays, but we have a wide breadth of portfolio to help with a lot of products and proteins and solutions. Something for the holiday, something for Halloween. People have a lot of parties. How do we leverage the breadth and depth of our portfolio? So that's to make it more front of mind and have more efficient media spends and digital shelf, and how we call ourselves out on e-commerce and the digital shelf with having the portfolio. And I don't mean, I think they started it, don't get me wrong. I don't mean P&G brand savers. I mean something that is relevant content for that moment, for that season, for that whatever's going on in the consumer's life, to be able to answer the call. So I'm excited about that and how we unlock that for the future. You're going to see that in the future from us. And then just, driving that enhanced content, that's definitely in the short term, and our core SKUs to make sure they stay top of mind with consumers. That's critically important from that aspect. Also, I would say those are the two top things. That maybe wasn't as dynamic as you wanted, but those are the two top things I'm going to say in the short term that are top of mind.
No, listen, I love the QR code and bringing the content, enriching that experience. And I love this idea of how do we stay front and center, and what are all the levers we can pull to do that. So I think those are great.
Yeah, I think consumers are, I think one of the things we learned through the pandemic is time is important.
Yeah.
And so we say convenient, everything's a convenient solution. Convenience has changed.
Yeah.
I still buy pre-cut broccoli flour, broccoli cuts, and not a head of broccoli to go home and cut, right? Because it's convenient, it's worth the time. Things are worth the time and money. How do you make sure it's worth the time and money in that digital space, in that what you're bringing, the value it brings to you? We're seeing a lot of, how do I cook the total package for a dinner for 4? And I just throw the whole package in there. We saw that with the feta bake that was big on TikTok. I think we're going to have this whole other iteration. I think the next level of cooking, even though I'm a foodie, they don't want to do a lot of measuring and stuff. So it's not pre-portioned like we're thinking about now, but it's a pre-portion for the recipe. And what does that look like? And what do those partnerships unlock in the future? I think that's where some exciting content can be.
I love it. Well, thank you for this. It's been a joy talking about these topics. We covered so much: leadership, career development, sales and marketing, and content, which is, as you know, one of my personal favorite topics. So those are amazing. If you're up for it, I have a few wrap-up questions before we conclude the podcast.
Go right ahead.
All right. First up, and I know it's hard to choose only two, but which two people have inspired you the most in your professional career?
Yeah, my professional career, so I'm going to stay on a professional level, is Bill Yaglu. He's the one who saw I was running operations for Marriott Management Services. And he said, you'd be really good at this marketing thing. Were you ever interested in that? So he is the one who bridged me from being just this. I was a caterer, I was an operations manager, and literally without necessarily a marketing degree, lifted me and put me in marketing at Marriott Management headquarters in Bethesda. So he was the one to do that. And then two is Paul Davis. And Paul Davis is the one who saw me in food service and said, I think you'd be really good at this retail thing. So it's the people who took a chance on me and the people who saw that skill set was transferable. I think we kind of live in this expertise world. And I challenge anyone out there of, I get the HR thing and everyone has to put their resume in a portal now. And then if you don't have those keywords, you're not getting hit. But let me tell you, I feel like I've brought a lot of expertise and a lot of wealth of knowledge and helped this company and other companies by taking a risk on people and skill sets are transferable. Now, not everything. If I need to have an expert skill set on something because it's the majority of the job, fine. But when you're talking leadership and leading teams and building teams and all of these things, Dave, it's transferable. So I'd say take a shot on people.
Really well said there. When you get some time, if you get time outside of work and family, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
I do take time. First of all, I learned the lesson long ago to take your vacation time because you're never going to get it back. So take it. I don't care what's going on. You got to delegate. Delegate or die, I say. You got to do it. So I love the arts and culture, and I love to travel. So those are my biggies. I love those things because they usually provide me a different perspective and a different point of view. And I believe a better world is from better exposure creates understanding. And that's what would help our world overall.
So if you could go anywhere in the world, anywhere you'd like to go that you haven't been yet?
If you're giving me free reign, I'm going to space.
Space. That is great. All right. That is awesome. Bring us along on the on that trip. That's a good one. That's amazing.
I'd be one of those people. I've read a lot of their books of Eugene Cernan. I know I'll probably get sick, but I would love to see the earth from that vantage point. Yes.
Incredible. And so much perspective if you were able to do it.
Exactly.
Well, this has been wonderful. If our listeners want to reach you online, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to connect with me, Wendy Jean Bennett, or my personal email is my last name, Bennett, wendyjean@gmail.com. And my work is wendyjean.bennett@tyson.com. So there's the three methods.
Wendy Jean, amazing. Thank you for sharing such moments of inspiration, education. I'm taking notes, and self-awareness, I think, is my big takeaway from everything we talked about. So hard to do, at least for me, but so important.
I'm going to evaluate myself after this, Dave. So that's how seriously I take self-awareness. But anyone out there listening, if you have further questions or follow-up, please reach out. Happy to have a conversation.
Thanks, Wendy Jean. So great to talk with you today.
Great, Dave. Thanks so much.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. Beyond the Shelf is brought to you by It's Rapid. It's Rapid is the platform Pepsi, Sierra Nevada, Revlon, and hundreds of other leading brands and retailers use to build personalized content at scale. Whether that's images, videos, or product descriptions for their product detail pages, shoppable videos or banners for their digital ad campaigns, or sell sheets for sales enablement, brands that use It's Rapid are able to produce high-quality, on-brand content on average more than 80% faster than category competitors. To find out more, please visit itsrapid.ai. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Shelf.